Hey everyone, it's Tyler Stroik from Universal Rackets, and this is going to be an amazing video because in this video we are going to be doing a full volley masterclass. Once again, if you stay tuned for this whole video, we are going to be going over tips and tricks and going over step by step on how to hit the volley in pickleball. Now, there are a ton of different volleys to hit in pickleball, and we are going to be going over all of them. We're going to be going over the topspin backhand roll volley, topspin forehand roll volley, counter volley, block volley, one-handed volley, two-handed volley, and the volley that you would learn first if you've never played pickleball before. This video is going to start really basic. We're going to go step by step on how to hit the basic volley, and then we are going to work our way up. Not only we're going to teach you how to hit a volley, but we're going to teach you how to get more power, more accuracy, more spin, and more control. When someone hits hard at you and you're up at the net, we're going to teach you how to block it back. This video is going to transform your pickleball volley regardless of levels. So make sure you buckle your seatbelts and stay tuned for this amazing video. Now, the first thing that you have to think about the volley is time. In pickleball, when you're up at the kitchen, and especially when you're hitting a volley, time is a currency. Once again, when you play pickleball, time is a currency. The faster you hit the ball, the faster it comes back. And when you're volleying, aka in firefights, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you do not have time. So the first thing that you have to do while you understand that time is a currency in pickleball is you have to make sure that you're in the proper position before you even hit a volley. Once again, you need to make sure that you are in the proper position to hit a volley because time is not of the essence. A lot of players, they struggle with the volley and they don't have good volleys from the start because they're not in the proper ready position. So we're going to hit the courts and show you the exact ready position that you want to be in to start before we even go over hitting each volley. Let's get started. Now, when you're up at the kitchen line, this is the proper position that you want to be in. I want you to note my feet. My feet are about hips width distance. A lot of players, they struggle because their feet are too far away or their feet are too narrow. I want my feet to be hips width distance. If someone came up to push me, I shouldn't move, like a little tiny push, not a big push, but I want to be balanced and controlled. Players, their feet are too far away so they can't go out to the ball, or their feet are too close because they're not balanced. Now, after we're in the proper hips width distance and we're getting a little bit into our legs, now we're going to talk about paddle position. We want to make sure that our paddle is up and out in front of our body. Once again, you want to make sure our paddle's up and out in front of our body. Players, either A, their paddle's down, or B, their paddle is low. You want to make sure that your paddle is here. A lot of players pop the ball up because their paddle's close to their body. When they make contact close to their body, the ball's going to go up. So you want to make sure that you're here with your ready position. You're airing out your armpits, your elbows are up. They're not close, your elbows are up and your paddle is out. Now, with the paddle position, you want to make sure that you're in a continental grip. So that means that your paddle isn't tilted one way. And you want to make sure that the tip of the paddle is pointing upward. You want to be here. The reason why you want to be here is because if you have to go to a forehand, you can go to a forehand, or if you have to go to a backhand, you have to go to a backhand. Remember, time is a currency, so you have to be in the proper position from the start, regardless of what volley you are trying to hit. A lot of players go wrong because they hit the ball real fast and they have to go out to the ball. Instead, you need to make sure that your paddle is already out in front and away from your body. So this is the proper ready position that you want to be in. Now, if you're starting out in the game of pickleball, you want to think of this three-step method. Number one, paddle out in front. Number two, turn to the side. And then number three, extend with your arm and shoulder. At the Universal Rackets Beginner Clinics, this is the exact volley that we teach. Again, you want your paddle out in front, you want to turn your paddle to the side, and then you want to extend with your arm and your shoulder. Notice my paddle's up and out in front. I turn my paddle to the side. When I turn my paddle to the side, I want the face of my paddle pointing forwards or towards the camera in this example, and I want my knuckles kind of facing forward. That's a great way that I remember myself, is I think that I'm pointing my knuckles forward. Now, they don't have to be exactly forward, but where players go wrong, especially when they pick up pickleball, is that they go like this. Again, they'll go like this when they want to learn. Is my knuckles forward? No, my palm is facing forward. Again, when you hit this volley, you always just want to turn it and make your knuckles face forward. Another great way to think about this is think of a fishtail. A fishtail, if it's swimming, it's a long fish, it's going back and forth and back and forth. When you do it, all you want to do is turn the fishtail to the side. It's another way to think of it. By turning the paddle to the side, having the paddle face forward, knuckles forward, or think that you are being a fish, it's going to make sure that your paddle's in the proper position. Now, once you're in this proper position, we're going to go over step 3, and that's extending with our arm and our shoulder. Notice by extending with my arm and my shoulder, my paddle face is still facing forward. And this is another reason why players struggle and players go wrong and they can't hit a volley, because players will look like this. They'll go to hit and they'll move their wrist. Is my paddle face facing forward? No, it's facing to the side. I'm never going to be able to hit a good volley. So if you can think ready position, turn to the side, extend with your arm and shoulder, that's going to keep your paddle face forward so you can make contact forward and through the ball instead of swing at the ball. AKA, you don't want to use your wrist. Again, when I push this ball forward for my volley, I'm extending with my arm and my shoulder. So again, paddle out in front, ready position, hips width distance, we went over that. That's our foundation for a regular volley. Now, we're going to turn the paddle to the side, and then we're going to extend with our arm and our shoulder. When we extend with our arm and our shoulder, we want our grip pressure firm. We don't want a death grip, but we don't want to be super loose, because if we have a super loose grip and we hit, what's going to happen? Our wrist is going to follow. Now, as we get more advanced and when we get into this video, we're going to teach you how to use your wrist. But if you're a beginner, intermediate player learning how to pick up the volley, you're going to keep your wrist firm and let your paddle just go forward. Now, we're going to go out on the court and demonstrate what we just went over. So again, remember, ready position, paddle out front, paddle tip up. Now we're going to turn the paddle to the side, and then we're going to extend with our arm and our shoulder. When we start out universal rackets, and for people to learn the volley, and the volley means that you're taking the ball in the air, we start them out in this position. So what I want you to do is go out with yourself and mirror yourself. If you have a ball shooter, do it there, or have a partner toss the ball to you. And you're literally going to start here, turn, then they're going to toss the ball to you, or you're going to toss your ball to yourself, and then you're going to push forward. Notice when I push forward, I am staying at the plane of my volley. I'm not going under, I'm not going up, I'm not going to the side, I'm going here and forward. I'm not just hitting through one ball, I'm hitting through 1, 2, 3. So ready possession, turn to the side, extend with our arm and our shoulder. What we don't want to do, and this is where players are going to start to go wrong, is that they're going to start to flick the wrist and they can't hit a good volley. If you can think again that you're pushing through your shoulder, you're keeping your wrist firm, or you're keeping the paddle face forward, you are going to be good to go. Now, after we get that, now we're going to start moving the volley around. Before we actually move the volley around, then we're going to start here. The ball's going to come, turn, extend with our arm and shoulder. Turn, extend with our arm and shoulder. The big thing that I want beginners to think about is that they're never taking the paddle back. Once again, when you're doing this motion, you're not taking the paddle back. You're keeping your paddle out front, you're turning, and all you're doing is going forward. You're never taking the paddle back behind your body. Then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to start hitting different types of volleys or in different positions. So you're going to do one out wide, one in the middle, and one all the way to the right. If you're a right-handed player, if you're left, one out wide, one in the middle, and one all the way to the left. So we're going to get a couple balls, and we're going to just go over that. So we're in a ready position. Our paddle turns and extend with our arm and shoulder. That's one. Now we're going out wide. Ready position, paddle turns, extend with our arm and our shoulder. And number 3, ready position, extend with our arm and shoulder. The one big thing that I want you to focus on is when I'm hitting all these different types of volleys, what type of shot am I hitting? I'm hitting a backhand. And what players need to learn is that 80% of all their volleys is going to be a backhand. Regardless of what level you are, 80% of your volleys is always going to be your backhand. Think, when you dink, you always want to hit a forehand, your palms facing forward. When you volley, you always want to hit a backhand, and again, your knuckles are facing forward. So you're going to be volleying back and forth and just trying to work on, again, always hitting a backhand. Now, after we get that, now we're going to talk a little bit about the forehand volley and what to do when the ball goes over here. So again, just to recap, we're always taking every ball as a backhand. Everyone goes wrong because the ball comes to them and they try to do this forehand volley. If it ever comes near you or to the side, you always want to take it as a backhand. I like to think of like a Popeye or like a sailor motion, right? Or like you're flexing your muscle. Backhand, 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 still backhand, and then forehand. Once you get a little bit more advanced, okay, if the ball comes to you in the middle, you can do a scorpion. But the number one thing, if you want to improve your volleys, other than keeping your paddle out in front at all times, is think that you're always going to hit a backhand volley. Any single time that that ball comes in the air, you're going to turn your paddle out, and then you're going to hit the ball. You're going to do this so many times that it's going to become a muscle memory. Remember, I want you to think practice, it doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So make sure to continually turn your paddle to the side and hit with a backhand. Now, what if the ball comes on the forehand side? That's what we're going to go over right now. So again, I have my backhand, I have my backhand, I have my backhand. I'm getting into a kind of a chicken wing, but now we're going to go over when the ball's over here. The big thing about this is making sure that your paddle is in the proper position. If your paddle can be in the proper position at all times, you're never going to have a problem reverting to a forehand because you're going to be able to read it prematurely. So if I see someone really hit the ball to me on this side, all I'm going to do is take my paddle over here. Now the big thing, when you take this paddle to the side, notice it's not behind me, it's always in front of me. A great drill to do, and this is why we're by this wall, is when I do it, I want to think that there's a wall behind me, and all I'm doing is keeping my paddle out front. Notice when I go for the forehand, I never take it back behind my body. I'm here and I'm keeping my paddle out in front of my body. Backhand, 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 forehand. Again, I'm keeping the paddle out in front of my body. A great drill to do is think that you're catching a ball. Think that you're catching the ball out in front. You're not catching the ball back here. You're always catching it out in front. So get someone to feed you a ball or toss you a ball and just work on catching with your dominant side. Now, even if you don't catch the ball, that's perfectly fine because what we're working on is just, again, extending our hand out in front. When we do this, again, we're keeping our wrist firm. If you're learning the volley in pickleball, the number one thing that you want to do is always keep a firm wrist. The more that you move your wrist or the more flimsy your wrist is, the more things can go wrong. You want to keep it compact, concise, and controlled. So you're going to start out in your ready position and you're just going to go here. Start out in your ready position and you're going to go here. Notice when I go forward, I'm again using my arm and my shoulder. I'm not using my wrist. For the backhand, extend with the arm and shoulder. For the forehand, extending with my arm and shoulder. The big thing is I'm either going here or here, or here or here, or here or here or here. Notice at all times, I never take my paddle back. So after you do ready position, paddle turn to the side, extend with the arm and shoulder, do some forehands, and then what you're going to do is start to put them together. Now the best way to do so is to get someone to toss the ball to you, hit the ball against the wall, or volley back. But remember, when someone's volleying the ball back to you, time is a currency and you're going to have a lot of little time to react and you're going to maybe get sloppy. But the whole goal is, when you're learning this volley, is to make sure that you try to do the proper shot. Realize, in pickleball, I said this a million times in this video, it's too fast. Your goal is to have common tendencies, common checkpoints, and then you're going to have to improvise. But when you improvise, you're still getting out in front. You're still not taking your paddle back. You're still keeping your paddle face forward. You're still keeping your wrist firm. It might look like this, 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 or this, but you have to keep your paddle back. Where players go wrong is that they have to improvise, but they're doing the wrong things, or their paddle's down, they're not in the proper position, and then they're never able to hit a good volley. If you do the right thing, luck will come to you. That's what I believe in my life. If I do well every single day and if I record good pickleball videos, hopefully this channel will grow, right? If you do every single technical thing properly, if you keep your paddle out front, if you keep your wrist firm, if you keep the center of your paddle trying to face forward, good things will come with your volley. But when you start to do bad things, not record videos or not make posts or keep your hands down or keep your wrists loose, that's when your volley is going to deteriorate and you're not going to get lucky in certain positions. Now with this basic volley grip, what we're going to start to do is starting to move our contact point. Now instead of just hitting volleys up here, we're going to start work on hitting low volleys. Now the big thing when you hit low volleys is you need to think about one thing, and that is getting into your legs. A lot of players go wrong with low volleys and they pop up low volleys because they are not bending properly. It has nothing to do with their skill. All it has to do with is how they are getting low. So we're going to go out to the courts and show you exactly what you want to do and what you don't want to do. So make sure you stay tuned. Now, where players go wrong on their low volleys is whenever the ball is low, what they do is they bend at their waist and they pop the ball up. If you bend at your waist, you're going to pop the ball up in the air because you're going down and that's going to force you in return to go up. Instead of bending at your waist, you need to drop low into your legs. If you ever hit the ball low, instead of just dropping your paddle down or bending at your waist, you're going to get down into your legs. Again, if the ball's in a backhand, instead of bending at my waist, I'm going to drop down and get into my legs. If I can drop down into my legs rather than bending at my waist or by just putting my paddle down, I'm going to hit the ball more forward instead of more up. When I'm here, I can push the ball forward. When I'm down here, all I can do is hit the ball up. So start working on being in the proper ready position again, and that's why we went over it to start. Just work on really getting low and hitting, getting low and hitting, getting low and hitting. As we get more advanced, this position is what's going to help you be really aggressive. This is the starting position. This is the position that you can start to do things with your actual volley. So work on really, again, the ball gets low, drop down with your legs. The best way to learn this drill is I would literally just get someone to toss me low balls, and I'm going to just have to, again, here, here, here. Notice I'm never taking my paddle back. Getting into the legs so low that you should feel sore. If you're 6 feet, you want to be 5 feet. If you're 5 feet, you want to be 4 feet. Now, as we start to get low and we start to learn how to drop down to the volleys, now we're going to start talking about our paddle face. So we went over the proper technique: ready position, turn to the side, extend with our arm and shoulder, or ready position, open up the paddle and push with our arm and shoulder. But now we're going over our legs. Now it's time to go over our paddle face. So you need to think as a volleyer, whenever you make contact below the net, you have to hit up. Whenever you make contact above the net, you have to hit down. Once again, whenever you make contact below the net, you have to hit up on the ball. Whenever you make contact from above the net, you have to hit down. The big thing with this is, how do we do this every single time? How do players and how do you maybe miss when the ball's high? Or you miss in the net when the ball's low? A great hack is, and again, remember, you still have to get into your legs, but the difference between a ball in the net versus a ball over our court, all it is angling our paddle. If you can angle your paddle properly, you're going to be able to hit a good volley. And by angling your paddle properly, it's also going to teach you how to hit more spin or more slice or whatever type of spin that you're trying to hit on your volley. So I want you to think, when the ball's low, instead of holding my paddle forward and the ball's low, it's going to go in the net. All I'm going to do is open up my paddle face a slight bit. Now pretend that there's a laser shining out the center of my paddle. Instead of laser just going forward, the laser is going to be shining upward. By shining the laser upward, now once I get low, now it's going to force the ball to go up. I didn't do anything different in that volley except for one thing, and that's just opening my paddle face. Same thing for the backhand side. If it's ever low, I'm going to open up my paddle face upward so the laser is shining upward, and now I'm going to be able to hit the ball up over the net. Notice again, when I'm doing it, I'm not doing a giant swing, I'm not doing anything crazy, all I'm doing is opening my paddle face. So when the ball is low, open your paddle face. If it's a forehand here, if it's a backhand here. If it's a forehand here, if it's a backhand here. Now, the opposite's going to happen for balls that are higher above the net. If you want to hit a ball that's higher above the net into the court, now if you hit your paddle face forward, it's going to go out. If you open up your paddle face, it's going to go up and way long. So what do you have to do? You have to do the inverse, and you need to close your paddle face. So instead of opening my paddle face up, I'm going to close my paddle face downward. Now I'm able to hit down into the court. Same exact thing on the backhand. If I go here, now I'm able to hit down into the court. So when the ball's high, you want to tilt your paddle face down, and when the ball's low, you want to tilt your paddle face up. Now again, make sure we're in the proper position. Our paddle's out front, we're not taking our paddle back, we're getting into our legs, but when it's high, you're going to tilt it down, and when it's low, you're going to tilt it up. When it's high, you're going to tilt it down, one or two hand, And when it's low, you're going to tilt it up. That's going to help you get the ball either over the net and in the court. I want you to think about it this way. The higher the ball gets, the more you want to tilt the paddle down. The lower the ball gets, the more you want to open your paddle face up. So remember, the higher the ball is, the more you want to close your paddle face, and the lower the ball is, the more you want to open your paddle face. Give your partner, or if you're working on this, have your partner feed you some high balls, and all you're going to do is high, turn, high, turn. When it's low, low, open, low, open. The higher it is, the more I want to tilt, and then the lower my ball gets, the more I want to open. When I'm hitting from below the net, I need to hit up, got to open it. When I'm hitting from above net and want to hit down, I got to close it. Now, when the ball is around net height or around your chest, you're going to just keep it square. So again, up here, square, low. Up here, square, low. The big thing again when you go low is you get down into your legs. So that is the basic volley, everyone. We went over to basic volley. We taught you exactly how to hit the volley, how not to pop the ball up by getting into your legs, keeping the paddle out in front, not taking your paddle back, and by angling your paddle face. And now you have a great volley. Now we're going to be working on how to hit a little bit more aggressive and some more spin. Now you can only start to learn this if you learn the previous content in this video. And the reason why is because players, they'll try to hit hard shots and they won't have the basics. They'll be taking their paddle too far back. They'll be just flicking their wrist out, not knowing what they're going to do. We're going to change a couple things in these next volleys, but what we're going to do is we're still going to keep the amazing foundation. We still built the foundation. Now we can put whatever we want on top of it, but again, the foundation stays the same. Now, when we're in our proper ready position, if you want to be aggressive now, there's two things that you can do. There's two basic volleys that you can hit. Number one is a punch volley, and number two is a roll volley or a flick volley. The difference between a punch volley and a roll volley and a regular volley is that punch volley, you're going to keep your paddle firm. A roll volley, you're going to use your wrist, and a block volley, you're going to keep. The difference between all three is the block volley, like a normal volley, you're going to keep your paddle firm. The flick volley, you're going to keep your wrist loose and bring your wrist down. And the punch volley, you're going to flick your wrist downward, but not necessarily take your paddle downward. And we're going to explain. So if I'm hitting a counter volley, and what I want you to think about is the rule of 10. If the ball comes, say if 10 super fast, 1 super slow. If the ball comes at a 9, 10 minus 9 equals 1. So if the ball's coming at a 9, which means super, super fast, that means I want to grip the paddle at a 1, which is super tight. That also means that I want to swing super short. So if the ball's coming really fast at a 9 or a 10, I want to grip the paddle super tight and keep the swing super short, around a 1 or a 2. Now, if the ball is super slow, if the ball's coming super slow at me and it's floating, I can take a bigger swing and I can also be even looser with my wrist. So if the ball is coming at a 1 in speed, being super duper slow, I can hold the paddle about a 9, super loose, and I can take a big swing around a 9. So essentially, the rule of 10, if it's super fast, you want to keep it short and tight. If it's super slow, you can take a bigger and more looser swing. So think, if the ball's coming super slow, I have to generate my own pace. If the ball's coming super fast, I have to make sure I'm compact. I'm blocking the ball back when it comes super fast, and I'm swinging at the ball when it's super slow. The difference between both shots is you have to make sure that you're either using your opponent's speed or you're creating your own speed. And we're going to show you the exact difference right now, so let's hit the courts. If I'm punching the ball back, or if I'm blocking the ball back, all I'm doing is taking a short swing. I'm just going here and forward, here and forward, here and forward. Again, think of a block like really just holding it and deflecting it. Think of a punch like flicking it more forward. A punch volley means that your paddle's going to go out to the ball. A block volley means you're going to keep it out here. Same exact thing. If I'm going to punch it, I'm going to go forward. If I block it, I'm going to just hold it out here. The difference between both of the motions is that I'm using my wrist more on the one. If you want to be more aggressive on the shot, I'm still keeping a short swing because remember, the ball's coming super fast, but I'm going forward with my wrists. The big thing is if you want to go big on a ball that's coming really fast at you, you can either A, block it back, or B, you can use your wrist and go forward. You can use your wrist and go forward. When I do both of those swings, I want you to notice where my elbow is, and this is key. Watch, if I'm going this, or if I'm doing this, or if I'm doing this, or if I'm doing that, my elbow is still close to my body. Where players go wrong, where they take their paddle back, and when time is a currency, right? You don't have time. The faster it comes to me, the faster I'm gonna hit back, and then it's going to faster come back, right? I'm gonna be in a firefight. Thing is if I move my elbow, what's going to happen with my paddle? I'm going to take my paddle back. So by keeping my elbow tucked into me, that's going to force me to only use my wrist or just hold my paddle out in front. The elbow is what is key. A great drill to do or an exercise to do is you're going to go hit some volleys and you're going to keep a ball in your hitting armpit or in both your armpits if you really want. And what you're going to do is when you do it, you're going to just work on to really just hold your wrist there. Another thing that you can do is you can get a broomstick or a court roller and you can keep it in here. And again, you're going to just work on keeping your elbows close to your body, tucked in, and just going with your wrist. That is how you can hit a good block or punch volley, is by keeping your elbows in. The moment your elbow goes out is the moment the ball is going to go long and the moment that you're not going to have time for your paddle to get the ball. So when it's coming really fast, again, keep your elbow in and just block the ball back. Block the ball right back and you're going to be good to go. Now, when this ball is coming slow, it's the exact opposite. Remember, if the ball is coming slow, at a 9 or a 10, that means we can hold the paddle loose and take a big swing because we're around the 1. And again, if it's in the middle, then we're going to adjust. So when the ball's coming slow, I can really take the paddle back and hold my paddle loose. Now, the big thing when I do this is I want to make sure if I'm hitting a roll volley, and this is what we're talking about, this kind of volley, what I need to do is I need to still go with my wrist, but I need to make sure that my paddle's going down under the ball and then forward. By going down under the ball and then forward, that's going to help me get topspin and help me brush the back of the ball. Again, I'm not coming through the ball like a punch volley or a block volley, and I'm not going down on the ball. I'm coming under the ball and up on it. So what I really want to do is I want to keep my paddle out front and I'm going to go here. I want to keep my paddle out front and I'm going to go down. Step 1 is ready position, of course. Step number 2 is dropping the paddle tip downward, and then step number 3 is finishing forward. Again, if you want to hit a big swing, what you can do is drop the paddle tip downward and then finish forward. How do we drop the paddle tip downward? It's very simple. It's just by releasing our grip. By releasing our grip, it'll help get our paddle below the ball so then we can brush up the ball while we hit it and then finish forward. So it's going to look like this, or it's going to look like this. The big thing with this is you need to make sure that you're tilting your paddle downward. If my paddle faces upward or if it's not in the proper position, it's going to go higher, it's going to go in the net. I'm going to tilt the paddle face downward and then I'm going to brush up on the ball. Now you might be thinking, how do you brush up on the ball if your paddle face is tilted downward? It's very simple. You're tilting your paddle tip down. The tip of the paddle is going downward so you can really lift and get under the ball. This is kind of like the same wrist motion that you're doing with your forehand ground stroke or your backhand ground stroke. You're going here and then you're tilting your paddle down and then you're going forward. You can start out with a wave, tilt your wave to the side, and then finish upward when you hit. Again, you're going to start out with the wave, tilt the wave to the side, and then finish upward. You're going to be doing the exact same thing when you hit your forehand or backhand. So you're going to be here, tilt it downward, and then again, when you finish, you're going to finish upward every single time. Ready position, tilt it downward, and then when you finish, you're going to finish upward. Notice when I finish upward, I don't just finish up, I go down and I finish forward. I finish forward and I extend to my ball. That is what you want to make sure that you do. Now, the last big thing that you want to do is you really want to get into your legs. This is going to help you be aggressive from at or below the net. The lower the ball is, the more you want to get into your legs, or the slower the ball is, the more you want to get into your legs. Power on your shot either comes from the wrist if the ball's above the net, or from your legs if the ball is below the net. Again, when I am up above the net, I'm going to be using my wrist and going downward into the court. But if I'm below the net, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using my legs to get under and explode up on the ball. I want you to think whenever you're going to hit a roll volley, you want to be in your ready position. You want to put your legs down and then push your legs up. Same thing for the backhand. Legs down, legs up. So I'm in the proper ready position. I'm tilting the paddle downward. I'm getting down into my legs and I'm exploding upward. Ready position. Get load into the legs and then explode off the legs. This is what's getting power, not this with my arm and my wrist. And that's the difference with the volley. A lot of players, they go wrong and they try to take a giant swing. What's going to happen is even if they hit a good swing, even if they get the ball in, what's going to happen, they're going to hit a ball, they're going to play a high-level player, they're going to hit the ball, their paddle's going to be over here, it's going to come right back because the faster they hit, the faster it's going to come back, and then boom, they're going to get body back. You need to use power in your legs so you can keep your paddle out in front at all times. You want to think that you're pushing into the ground with your legs and up off the ground if you want to hit a roll volley. You're pushing into the ground with your legs and up off the ground. So again, you're going to be in your proper ready position. You're going to have your paddle out in front. You're going to go into the ground, up off the ground. And you're really going to use your wrist. This and this is what's going to get power, not your whole arm and your shoulder. Now that is a huge thing that you need to make sure that you do for your forehand and your backhand roll volleys. Now, everyone says always my videos are too long, and if you want the SparkNotes version, basically you have to always be out in your ready position, paddle out in front, and you have to have your feet close to your body. If it's a fast ball, time is currency, you need to make sure that you hold your paddle firm, you need to make sure you keep your elbow in, and take short swings or use your wrist. The faster ball comes, the bigger the swing that you can. How do we hit a roll volley or on a slower ball? We're going to drop our wrist down, keep our paddle tip down, and go with our wrist, but then we're going to get into our legs. The higher the ball is, the more you want to tilt your paddle down. The lower the ball is, the more you want to open your paddle face. And you need to make sure if you're a beginner or just picking out, you're always keeping your paddle face forward and keeping your volley firm. We went over all the different types of volleys. Now what we're going to be talking about is angling the paddle, then going over tons of rapid fire tips and tricks for you to get better and hit more successful volleys. So buckle your seatbelts, let's get back to the courts, and here we are. So we spoke about our paddle face, opening or closing the paddle, but now we're talking about our paddle tip. The higher that the ball is, the more you want your paddle tip up. The lower the ball is, the more you want your paddle tip down. The higher the ball is, the more you want to hit down into court. By keeping your paddle tip up, when you swing down, the paddle tip's going to go straight down. The lower the ball is on the court, the more you point your paddle tip down, when you swing, the paddle is going to go up. So wherever your paddle tip is prior to contact, inverse is going to happen after contact. So I want you to think again, either you're up here or you're down here. Now the main thing, regardless of what type of your volley that you hit, and now you have all these amazing volleys and you're in the proper position, and you have way faster hands, you need to make sure that your paddle always ends up out in front. What used to happen to me is I would go out, play recreation, play local park games. I would probably win 90% of the games, and I would win when I do a real big volley. So I'd hit one roll volley and then be done. But what started to happen is players, when I played more advanced groups and I played private groups, I would hit a big volley, my paddle would be over here, and then the ball would come back. You need to make sure that after you hit, your paddle always ends up out in front. I want you to watch whatever type of volley that I'm hitting, my paddle always goes to the center. A great drill to do, or at least it worked for me when I was really struggling with this, is when I hit, my paddle always ends up with my non-dominant hand touching it, or ends up right after. Now clearly when it's really fast, you're not going to have time to do that, but if someone's back at the baseline and you're just drilling, really drill and have your hand end up touching the paddle. That's going to make sure again that your paddle's out in front of the proper position rather than swinging, look, it's not touching my hand in here. You have to make sure, again, always the paddle ends up out in front. Another way that you could think of it is think of a magnet. Your paddle's always ending up where the magnet is, up and out in front. And the next thing that you want to think is you always want to take the ball early. When you extend your paddle out, you want to think, can I take it out air or do I have to let it hit a dink? I want to keep the paddle out in front to try to extend out in the air as much as we can. How can we extend out in the air as much as possible? It's by getting into our legs. If I'm in my legs or I'm not in my legs and I go down, I can only hit here. The more I can get into my legs, the more further I can extend. So I really want to think extend out in front and get into my legs low so I can get maximum reach. Now, the next thing that you want to think about is always taking the ball early. The earlier that you can take the ball, the more out in front you can get the ball. The number one thing where players go wrong is that they hesitate. Am I hitting a dink or am I hitting a volley? If they hit a volley, they hit a volley here. If they hesitate, then they hit a dink here, they pop the ball up. So you always want to make sure that you try to take a volley and never hesitate and always have your first instinct so you can really get balls out here rather than let them get super low, taking a dink and popping the ball up. If you can think that you're taking the ball earlier, that you're getting the ball more out front and making sure that you start where you finish and you finish where you start and always keeping your paddle out in front, you're going to hit a way better and more effective shot. Regardless if you're hitting topspin, counter, even if you're trying to hit like a little slice cut volley, whatever you want to do, if you can make sure that you incorporate these principles in your volleys, you're going to succeed in whatever volley that you're trying to hit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We did a full volley masterclass. Now you have the full foundation on how to hit any type of volley you want, rather than if it's a counter, a one hand, a flick, a roll, any type of volley possible, you have the keys to do it. The best way to support this channel, it's not to like, it's not to subscribe, it's not to even do any of that stuff. All that it is, even better than a tip, is to share this with your pickleball friends. Now I tell everybody, if you're playing any tournament, if you're playing someone later this week, don't share them this video. They're going to get so much better volleys. But if you're not playing them in the next couple weeks, guess what? Share it to your Facebook group, share this with everyone you know, and help everyone improve their pickleball game. Have a good one, happy hitting, and we will see you guys next time on court.